You have to change your energy to change your life. And what is energy? It's frequency and it's vibration. So you can use sound to change your energy. We all carry a field of energy. We all have an electromagnetic field. And when we're in our heart, people feel it. And then I started meditating every day, and I cried every day in meditation. When I'm not heart-centered, I'm not my best, happiest self. If someone's heart-centered, you feel it. And your brain actually starts to slow down because it feels safe. It takes time and you have to be patient, but people just instantly want that spiritual awakening. I think it's about who you are and not about what you do. Master yourself first.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the B.Human Podcast. On this episode, we had a special guest named Tanya. Now, Tanya's been on a journey of herself as well. Very similar, I think, to mine. That's what I found during this episode. And to be honest, we didn't have enough time in the day to even keep chatting, and that's how good it was going. Just a few things that we touched on as well involving her journey was how giving is very important. Giving back, okay? So giving back is very important for personal growth and healing. Another thing that we touched on was transitioning from chasing to embracing life's beauty. All right. And one more very important thing was the importance of personal growth and self-mastery. Those are very exciting topics that we went over in this episode.
Yeah, just want to expand on that because it was an episode that sort of took us in many directions. Basically, Tanya is a sound healer. She has taken it to a deeper practice, which is amazing to listen to because so many people do sound healing, but she was just talking to us about the intricacy and how, you know, we need to be careful because sound does impact us, influence us, our cells, our body, our field. And it was like, wow, there's a proper science to this. So she's actually delved deep into a course and teachings that has really deepened her understanding in that. She was a model, you know, she's done the LA thing, she knows. So I love that about her too, because she hasn't come to this space just because it's cool now. You know, she's had her own journey, so she has a wide understanding of like life itself, and then she's come into this space through meditation. She's had her own awakening experience. You know, she had that which led her to here. It was a fun, crazy episode. Like I said, many spaces, but I hope you guys enjoy it because it was like just catching up with friends and just having a good old chat.
Yes. So if you do enjoy it, guys, please subscribe, share on your socials, pump us up a little bit so we can get bigger guests and more exciting conversations on board.
Absolutely.
And remember, be human.
Boom.
I met Tanya at, first of all, you know, there's a lot of people around in the world. You go places and there's a crowd, but I swear to God, she stuck out because I'm like, this woman is absolutely gorgeous. That was the first thing I just thought. And how the hell are you at a meditation place if you look this good? I was like, why are you here?
That's very shallow of you.
I swear to God. I was like, normally people have issues and shit. What's she got going on? You know?
I used to get that a lot.
I was like, why is this chick that looks like she's got her shit? No, it's just she's just so beautiful. And I would say beautiful, like really that word. And then I met her and she was one of the helpers at the Dr. Joe Dispenza retreat. And I got to know her. I was like, oh my God, she's even a nice person. Like, what the fuck? That is not real. And I'm like, nah, it's going to like fall apart in about like, you know, nah, she's real. She's real, guys. She's a really beautiful person inside and out. And I love her for that. She's amazing. So that was the first thing for me, being a woman. So, like, I know guys will be thinking the same thing.
I remember you telling me when you came back.
Yeah.
You said, I met this beautiful looking girl. And
She's such a...
You're like, we're going to speak to her one day and all these things.
Tanya, yeah. I loved her. And she genuinely cares. Like, genuinely, I saw love, you know. And she just has that. So I love that, you know. And I looked into you and your story and, you know, what got you here? Because I was like, yeah, like you look too perfect. I was looking at you, I was like, there can't be anything wrong with her, you know, but why is she here? Because I don't feel like a lot of people get to that place until they're seeking. So it's like, what made you seek? Because you look on the outside, you're perfect. And then I read a little bit about you, you know, and I was like, wow. Like, I'm like, that really blew me away, because we'll get to what that is. But, you know, I've never felt that. And I felt like I had so many scars and this and that. And I thought, wow, even with mine, I never felt that. Why would this perfect image of a person have those feelings, you know? So if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll start we'll start from that. But obviously, you know, you're in this other space and you have become who you are. But I want people to actually go back and see, just because you look at someone and you think they're porcelain and you think they're so beautiful, and they are, you know, a lot of the times a really beautiful person has a really, really painful past, you know? So, yeah, if you can share a bit.
Oh my God. Oh gosh, we'll be here for like.
That's okay.
You got your tea, man.
I know, I've got my tea.
You're good. You're set.
I mean, I'll try and do like highlight points.
Yeah, go for it.
But I guess, look, I think for most of us, I would say this, that now that I've been doing what I do for a while, I think from when we're born, we kind of know. Like, we'll question things. You know, people say it's like the black sheep of the family, which I don't like to use that at all. I say the rainbow sheep. You know, do you know what I mean? I'm like,
add some
why?
colour to
Why?
it.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
add colour. Like, we're colourful. We see things, question things. So I was always kind of that child, that one that was like, why is like what like this, or like there was so much suffering around me from growing up, and just like my parents, what they went through, and so suffering was normal. And being Middle Eastern, that's just like, that's life. Like when you come from the Middle East, unfortunately, for whatever reason, another topic, whether it's karmic, you know, there's all these like theories out there. But when you're born there, which I was born in Iran, and I'm one of 4 girls and I'm the youngest, you know, that way of life, it's just like, now they speak on like generational and ancestral trauma, which is really a thing. Like your DNA carries information, and their science is still behind, but one day they're moving forward. So there's so much we don't know. So it was like many reasons, and just things that I experienced as a child. It's like childhood trauma. But like, again, in that world, it's normal. Everyone's had a hard life. And so I kind of always grew up with like a really deep sadness, I would say. Like just feeling like I didn't want to be here, like from a very young age. And then obviously moving to Australia, I was so young. I was 6 years old, and then like life just changed really quickly, and so many things, like between being born until like I really understood that, hey, something maybe was not right with the way I was thinking, was probably when I was like 13, when I was like, this is like too heavy.
Yeah.
And it just never went away. Like that feeling actually got worse as I got older. And it wasn't until the last couple of years, well, now 5-6 years, that I learned about subconscious programming, and like how your body literally holds on to memory, and the cellular memory, and how there's ancestral trauma, and like your mother's energy and your father's energy. Everything started to make sense for me. But before that, I didn't know. I was just like, okay, I'm just depressed. I'm suicidal. I'm anxious. This is just normal. And obviously there was like peaks and lows.
And I think you think something's wrong with you.
Yeah.
You know, something's wrong with you. It's me. This is who I am.
Yeah. It just becomes a part of life. Like I just learned to deal with it. And there would be times that it was really, really bad. And that's when I would kind of like disappear from my life, which is when it was not good. And I tried so many things. Like I did it all. Therapy made me, and I've spoken about this, and this is my personal experience. Could have been the therapist, but it made me much worse because I was reliving things that I had actually like blocked out to survive. And then it's like they were bringing them up, and it was like absolutely devastating because I would just break down and just stay in that space. And it was like, oh, time is up. I'll see you next week.
Yeah, it's too clinical.
You know,
in a way.
it's and I refused to go on any kind of. I always knew I didn't want to take that kind of medication, but I self-medicated in other ways. Like I did. Now it's everyone talks about like psilocybin and marijuana. Like that stuff doesn't work because it's disassociating. Well, psilocybin different, but let's just say something like marijuana, it just numbs you. It doesn't change anything.
It's no different to alcoholism.
No. If you use it in a way that's treated in a sacred, like a medicine, it's different.
Exactly, not abuse.
But, if you just smoke it because you're like, I just need to take the edge off, you're numbing yourself. You're not healing anything. It's still a superficial.
And that's where you find a lot of addiction sets in.
That's when it starts, right? And people are addicted to everything, though. Like, I think people can be addicted to going to the gym.
100%.
And I was that too. I was a PT. I used to train twice a day, but that was my outlet. But again, it never reached the core of why I was the way I was. And it wasn't until, and I say like it was just a divine hand and intervention. I was kind of forced to go to Dr. Joe.
Who got you?
My mother-in-law now.
Best.
Yeah, she's
What a
amazing.
legend.
Yeah, she's been in that world, and I was always inquisitive again because I always knew something, but I was like, no,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna leave it. And we went in 2019, and I was just ready. Like it was the time for
Yeah.
me. It's like something made sense. Like
Yep.
I felt it. It was visceral. I was like, whoa, there's something here. And then I started meditating every day, and I cried every day in meditation. And this is really common and normal, and no one really speaks about this. I think people think meditation is like,
Love
no,
and
I'm meant to
light.
be like, and I have that now after a daily practice of 5 years. Like it takes time and you have to be patient, but people just instantly want that spiritual awakening. And I'm like, no, you don't, because it's big to carry that energy. You might not be ready for it, and it can actually cause a lot of problems, which I've experienced and witnessed in different retreats. I've seen it in my own work. I've seen it. And so it's not about rushing anywhere. It's really about the journey and like the spiral, like you're continuously evolving up. But for me, it happened in a really big way. It was huge. I had what people call a Kundalini awakening.
Yeah.
It was very scary. It was like the most beautiful feeling and experience I've ever had in my life, and I still can't put it into words. It was like there was so much happening because, when you have that moment, there's a lot of DMT that's released in the brain. So I was having like these visions and experiences, and I saw all my life and everything that had happened and to my parents, and it was just so much compassion and love and forgiveness. And forgiveness is really important in this space and journey, and a lot of people don't like to talk about it because it's like, no, you can't forgive. And I'm like, well, you'll just keep suffering if you don't reach that point, because no one is the way they are for no reason. Everyone has a story. The most horrible person,
Exactly.
and it's not to say that what they did is okay, but they have a story. They were still born an innocent baby, and that's how I try to see things, and I carry that with me. But to get there, I had to go through a lot of healing of here. I'm all about the heart. I truly, that's my number one way of living. Like when I'm not heart centered, I'm not my best, happiest self. And I think we can all
relate to that.
Relate to that.
100%.
And there's so much more, but just my life completely changed instantly, but it took a minute to integrate that. And it's very similar to people that go and have, they go and have 5-MeO DMT and ayahuasca. Like you can have that beautiful experience, but you have to integrate it. Like you have to bring it back and be human. Like be human.
Exactly,
like you are here to be a human being.
Exactly. There's work to be done.
Yeah.
You're taking part in that. You're working with it. It's not like just come fix me. See you later.
It gives you this beautiful insight, this beautiful experience. And it's like, okay, what are you going to do with it? Bring it back. Bring it home.
I love that you said you actually got into the work for seeking for yourself and seeking that self-love. But I read that that experience happened when you were loving on someone else.
Yes. yeah.
Right. Isn't it amazing how that works? So when she was like actually praying for healing for another, right, that's when boom, because you know what the amazing thing, what people don't realize, remember, for you to be able to, for it to go through out of you into someone else, it has to go through you. So if you're seeking to love on someone, that is going through you. If you're seeking to hurt someone, that has to enter you first and go through you, right? So it's amazing to understand that's what people that are really stuck in that space, that when you start to give, it means you've got. So just give, because giving means that it has to run through you first, you know? And so because the same thing happened with me at the retreat, was like whenever we were doing the healings, is like when my heart would just explode and I had an experience, and I was like, and it's really important that you speak about coming it back into life and grounding it in your daily life, because my life fell apart, right? But thank God I was already practicing meditation for about 8 years straight, right? And I was just like, I knew now, like it's actually harder to hold unconditional love than it is to hold your stories of trauma and pain. It took my body so much time to integrate that much amount of love that I had experienced to come back into my life and to settle it in there. Actually, I was sick for about 2 weeks after, just to regulate it, but I was aware that this is a part of it. And so it's incredible, because it really does teach you to love life as it is. It's not even about that anymore. I used to chase that. I used to be like, I want that again. Give me that, you know? And I used to chase that. And now it's like, no, like the way I look at it is like, I just want to fall in love with my life as it is, because, you know, like I'm denying everything that's divine in front of me, you know? So I think that's probably why I sort of connected with you, because I really noticed that you were never out here, you know, you were always here and very heart-centered, very loving. And that's the beautiful story about like how someone can be in a space where you said you didn't even want to feel like being here. And then now you've come to a different place where you're like of service, right? So what do you feel service has done for you? How do you think that has helped you? And how do you think you have an impact on people that are in those spaces now?
Oh my gosh. I mean, going back to what you said about giving, I truly believe that's like the key that a lot of people miss in this industry now.
Yep.
As we were saying before,
It's cool now.
it's cool and it's trendy, and it's like all about the self. It's like what do I get? What can I do? How do I look? How does this change my life? And that's amazing. Like
Can I add just one more thing? Sorry,
Yes.
Tanya, to cut you off. The other thing I've in this space is like, if you feel a little bit that you have something, you're like, I can heal you.
Yeah.
I want to do that because I want to be the person that fixes you. So it comes across that as well. Like, you know, we want to do, as soon as you experience something, it's like saying, I want to be a doctor and I want to cut in surgery everybody, you know, because I've experienced something, and then automatically, instead of understanding the depth of what it is, I think people go straight into, I want to feel good about myself by fixing you, healing you, doing that to you. You know what I mean? So it's
100%.
a very funny space.
I think it takes a level of, you know, we talk about embodiment. It's very important for me. And what that means is like one of my favorite teachers. I've studied a lot. I've made sure, because I get this question a lot, like, and I've studied everything I teach because I firstly wanted to understand it so well that it's part of me and experience it for myself, that when you experience it, I know how to hold space for it. And people are like, oh no, but you can't, like, you know, just a certification doesn't mean anything. And I'm like, 100%. That's why it's important to learn, read, embody, and also practice, and then bring them together, and you master yourself first. Start in your own home, at your own address. Like if you can't be loving in your own home to yourself, to your partner, to your family, to you know, parents, to people that are potentially difficult in your life, but then you're out there preaching to change the masses in the world, I think that's when it causes that disharmony in frequency, and people are so awakened now. Like I think everyone's quite more on than a few years ago. COVID changed people. Everyone has more of a sense of discernment and almost like a truth radar.
Yes, and more curious and things.
Curious, and they can feel, you can feel straight away when someone's not genuine anymore. Whereas a few years ago, even for me, I got a bit hustled. I had no idea. I would be like, oh, I think I need to learn from this person because she looks like it. And then I would talk to her and be like, what?
Yeah.
And they would be charging like 20,000 US to I'm like, what are you coaching? Like, what
are you teaching me?
And then I was like, whoa. But I always had that question. But I almost got hustled, so I can imagine. And I have compassion for a lot of people that it's really easy to fall for
when you're vulnerable as well.
100%.
When you're looking for just something to help you.
Something to help.
Yeah.
Because you assume everyone has your best interest at heart, and unfortunately, not everyone does. I think some people don't even realize maybe that they don't, and it takes them, I hear a lot about stories about big coaches now and big healers, and their life turns to absolute chaos.
Yes.
Something bad happens and they lose everything and clients, and I'm like, well, what is that? Because if we create our experiences, I believe we co-create.
Yes.
I really believe our thoughts have that power. To the level of like, can I change the world? No. I believe we're a part of a story, and we're all writing our little stories within a big story.
100%.
Like there's a divine hand, and I say God freely now because my faith is very strong. I don't take credit for anything. That's my number one. When I hold space, I don't like to say that anymore because I'm like, when I facilitate things, for me, in it's a lot about frequency and embodiment. I never take credit for it, and that's why it doesn't matter if I'm in a room with 300 people now, like I am, or one person. I don't feel drained. I don't have that whole, I'm so tired, I had to carry. I don't have that because it's not me. Tanya, as the personality, steps out. This takes over, and I just tune into that, direct to that, and whatever that person needs for their highest good without over intending my will, it's their healing experience. And everyone's different. And for me, I think why my moment happened, it was my time. No one healed me. It wasn't a group of people putting their hands over me. I had a vision of, it wasn't even a healing that we were doing. I saw a man earlier at the retreat, and his image stayed with me. He was a homeless man. And it was crazy in my head at that time, going back to this conversation actually, there was like 1,500 people at this retreat, and everyone was so like trying to get somewhere and trying to get something because we were all waiting for food. And he was a homeless man, and every single person just ignored he existed. Like we were in a queue.
And look where we are, by the way. Meditation retreat.
That's why I was that moment. Like I was like, I was like, whoa. And I still remember exactly what he looks like. And he had wrapped black rubbish bags around his body to keep him warm. And his pants were kind of falling down because he was on a bike, and he was talking to himself, and people were, like he's scary. But I was like, I just saw him, and I was like, I felt so much love and compassion for him. Not to feel sorry, but I was like, wow, like, I'm not going to ignore you. And in that moment, I was like, I'm just going to send you some like good energy. And I actually, like, I didn't say this before, but I took food for him later. I didn't know if he was going to be there, but we ate so much. We ate at a restaurant. There was so much and I'm like, I don't want to throw this out because in America it's really expensive. And so I just took a bag and I put it where I thought he'd be, and I left. That was that night. And then it was the next day in my meditation at the end, his vision came to me. Like he came into my face, and I was like, I don't want anything. In that moment, I was like, I don't want nothing. I don't want anything out of this retreat. I just want to send him so much love. Like I want him to be safe. And like my first thing was, it was so cold in Niagara Falls. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I want him to be warm and like sheltered. And that was like when, boom, like something just was like, yep, that's it. Ding. And like that's when my moment happened, and it lasted like hours. It lasted hours. I couldn't come back to my body, couldn't walk, couldn't speak. It took me like a couple of hours to start speaking. I had to go. That was my first time hugging a tree. Something in my head is like, go, like put your hands on a tree, and that was the only thing. For like half an hour, everyone's like, "What's wrong with her?" My husband was with me, and he was like, I was like, because I just couldn't. There was so much energy running through me. it was that, but that goes back to now what I do. It's the same thing. It's just loving intention. And because I have created space there for my own healing, that I can hold that, I just hold that for whoever needs to experience. I don't try to force it on anyone. I don't try to say to anyone that they need healing. I don't put things in people's heads and labels. There's a lot of labels and, word salad now. I call it word salad.
Absolutely.
I listen to some things. I'm like, what are they actually saying? I'm like, I don't get it. I don't feel anything. So it's just that loving intention and awareness and offering that to whoever needs it. I don't force it on anyone. I'm here. I do what I do. They come. They don't. That's okay. So that's kind of my life. And I live that way every day, regardless of where I am. It's not just work. I try to be that for my partner, for my family, for myself. So like I said, I think it's about who you are and not about what you do. And that's really important for me to be who I say I am and to be honest. And I'm not, it's not like I'm in these loving states all the time. No way. When you have an open heart and you see suffering, it hurts. Like I'm not,
You're not human.
No,
Yeah, exactly.
I can zoom out at a point and understand the bigger hand and everything. Yes. But in that moment, no. Like it can, it's difficult to witness people suffering. Like that's my one thing I really struggle with. But I know that there's always like a purpose, always, and I can say that from my own experience now.
Looking back, absolutely.
In hindsight, like you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking back. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing is, right, who you are when no one's watching. I think, and you'll always know and that's the thing. That's why people, I heard this guy say, we don't fight. We don't have wars because people hate each other. We have wars because people hate themselves.
Yeah.
And so, if you're in conflict, if you are something outside and then externally you're someone else, think about your entire system. It's constantly got friction. And I think that's why so many people, after a certain time, if you are maintaining that kind of like facade, it breaks you. It has to, because it's not who you are, and it's just so much friction towards that. And I think that's why, like, especially in this space, like this will never be a long-term thing. Then you can't. You can enjoy the whatever you think it is for the 6 months, 2 years, or whatever. You cannot maintain something like this, which is so integral in the long term, because it will break you. Because to hold that and be around that, it's not feasible to do that. So how did you get into sound healing? Because I'm like, I tried that. It's not that easy.
So, did you try it?
I just go ding. I've got one, and I just go ding. That's it.
Well, I think, again, going back to childhood, music and sound was like my therapy. Like that was my way of coping. I'm obsessed with music.
Yeah.
Like since I was really young. Like it's funny, I would like lock myself in the room at like 6 and like dance and like
sing.
go off to Whitney Houston. Like
Love it. Yeah.
like I cannot sing.
Oh, okay.
I can tone. I'm not a singer. I don't perform. So even with sound healing, I think people think it's a performance. It is not a performance when it's done in a healing capacity, which I will touch on because I think, again, it's really important for people to understand that, because there's sound meditation, sound bath, sound journey. A sound journey is a performance, but it's a journey. So there's different instruments and you kind of go into this
highs and lows.
And lows, but it's a little bit more performative.
Yes.
Sound healing.
You're directing, you're guiding. Yeah.
Different. In sound healing, it's usually I do it one-on-one, or if I do it in small groups, there's different tuning instruments that you use, like tuning forks, like to actually change the electromagnetic field of the body. That's sound healing. Toning is sound healing.
Yep.
And then a sound bath is also frequency, and like the alchemy bowls that I love to use. I don't use all the instruments, which again I'll touch on, but there's so many, like people don't know.
Yeah, I had no idea. So I get the journey, but what's the bath and the
So
sound?
a sound bath, it's very similar to sound healing, but it's usually a sound bath is, I would say, a more gentle experience, because it's usually in a group setting, and you'll see the white frosted bowls or the Tibetan bowls. And it's more like a bath. Like it's like literally you're
relax.
bathing
Yep,
in the
okay.
sounds. Like
Okay.
it's bathing your body, your cells, and everything is vibration. You know, your body is made up of 70% water. And if you see how sound affects water through cymatics, exactly. And it creates these coherent fractal patterns of information that are healing frequencies. And that's happening in your body. So it really is a healing modality. And it's quite ancient. I know if people think it's new, but it's ancient. It's across all cultures, all in the lineages. Like you can go back, there's sound in every culture. And they've used it in medicine in every culture.
Well, you look at language, Aramaic, and we say Sanskrit.
Yeah.
It's now considered a language, but it's really the sound, the tones,
the
that
code.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
a frequency
It's
that
a
it carries.
frequency. Yep.
And so with sound, like, I was always really, it was healing for me, more in music, like music therapy. And then it's just like a full circle experience for me. So when I had my first sound journey experience 4.5 years ago. And it woke something in me. Like it was like my body was just like alive, and I just had this thing in my head. I get these intuitive things where I'm like, I have to do this.
Yeah.
And I did. And when I bought my own set of bowls, I started just practicing for myself for my daily practice. And then I'm like, I need to study this. Like, what is this? And so I found my teacher. She's in America, and I studied with her for a few months. And then I self-studied. Self-study is really important for a while. And then I just started doing it for my friends, kind of incorporating sound with breath that I teach, because I studied a lot of different breath work. Just being a yoga teacher, my teacher training was mainly focused around pranayama and like different breaths, and I did like revelation technique, and kind of created my own little thing years ago. And I would do it for my friends, and they were like having the craziest experiences, and it just kind of grew. Yes, the music, but everyone can learn it and do it. I think it's also an extension of self. So again, going back to being embodied and the energy you carry, because we all carry a field of energy. We all have an electromagnetic field, and when we're in our heart, people feel it. Like, and it can be actually quantified. Like they can measure it now. So in saying that has a direct response to sound, to your voice. Your voice is actually the most healing sound tool, which goes to toning and humming. And like when you tune, you can drop into that brainwave state of like alpha theta and be really connected and say, you know how sometimes you can listen to people and you get in a trance.
When I listen to Joe's meditation every morning, his voice, he changes his voice, obviously.
Yes, he knows what to do with his voice from like a self-hypnosis technique.
Yeah, he has that background.
Yeah, he's very good, and he uses sound healers in a lot of his music and sound alchemists. They're incredible. And that entrains your brain waves, which changes like your frequency to the frequency of the sound, and also through resonance, which is when your body starts to resonate with the tone or the frequency. So it's so powerful. It's not easy, I think, because it takes a minute to just understand, because I try and tell people sound can destroy as well. Sound is not just for healing. So if you don't know what you're doing and you use the wrong instrument or the wrong tone, because there is some tones, so you do need to know music theory as well. There's so much to understand. Intention above it all, though. Like you have to have a really solid intention and be in your heart for it to not go left, but it can bring up unwanted feelings in people.
I get that with just music.
Yeah.
Well, they've changed the music.
Oh yeah.
now.
With the hertz that they're running it off. But yeah, certain songs, especially on the radio, like commercialized things, used to really affect me. You know,
in a bad way.
Yeah, in a bad way.
Yeah.
I haven't spoken much in this episode because everything you're saying, I'm feeling, because you're just a version, like we're the same. Middle Eastern background,
Yes.
the way you said that you grew up, everything. I've just been reflecting and going on my own journey while we've been talking now,
Yes.
and even the part about capacity and forgiveness. I only changed when I forgave, and I forgave my younger self.
Yeah.
So the story, I looked into your story a little bit as well this morning. And I was like, fuck, we're very similar. So I'm sitting here and listening. But music, big time. If I reflect back on my years of aggressive behavior and nature, all my music was aggressive. Everything was, right? To the point where even your ears can't tolerate a certain voice, or if it was anything that was soft or loving. I had a cousin that loved Boys to Men. I said, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I'm thinking, what? Habib, Middle Eastern, but Boys to Men. I go, where's Tupac? You know what I mean? And all that. But I then now reflect back and also see that he was very loving as a cousin. He was a soft-natured person. I was an aggressive-natured person at the time. So music, especially in sound, is more important than what people think. So
yeah,
be
we can
very
talk about
careful.
That. This is they use sound. to do things.
100%.
I'm like, I don't want to
You
like
can,
go too
Tanya, bring it out. Yeah,
We don't care.
I'm like, listen.
No, but listen,
you gotta be careful.
Yeah,
there is
and-
some technologies out there that we don't. Well, I know about, and if you look into it, you can know about it. But they use it to hypnotize. So it's
100%.
not just people think it's the news and television, and they do that. This is why I really am so. I do not watch
Neither do we.
Netflix. I do not watch. I used to. Like, I was like, oh, I just need a minute. No, now instantly my body, and then I'll be like, something is really wrong. And it's the sound. If you go into these shows, listen to the sounds that they create. It's literally putting in you into a fear state.
And think about it. They got
It is,
sound, they got visuals, and they got messaging.
Everything together.
Everything,
And
the
everyone
three.
gets obsessed with the same show at the
Yeah.
same time. And then
Yeah.
this-
How?
Yes.
And then these
Yes.
collective horrific things keep happening, and they're like, "But how?" And I'm like, "But how? Like,
Yeah.
what do
Yeah.
you mean?"
And
like,
if your ears hear it, or I'll be doing something, I can, what the fuck?
yeah,
I want to break the TV. I'm like, how are you listening to this?
Yeah.
In my head, I'm like, how?
it's because you've
Do you know
become
what I
more
mean?
attuned
Yeah.
to feeling it, and they use it in most music. I would say
100%.
95% of normal music. When I say normal, I mean like you know the
Mainstream.
mainstream, the pop charts.
Yes.
You look into the people that stopped making music, and you look into their history,
100%.
and you realize like
Yeah.
something's going on. So all this
Yeah.
stuff coming out now, I'm like, I knew about all this
You look
stuff
at, like-
with Puff Daddy.
yeah.
and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Puff
But
Diddy.
you look at the
I'm
real
like, I don't know,
ones.
Puff Diddy?
Yeah.
P. Diddy?
Puff
Oh yeah,
Daddy.
whichever.
Like,
Call,
It was Puff
or whatever.
Daddy.
Thank
Was it
God.
Puff Daddy?
Puff
I'm
Daddy?
glad we don't know his name.
Yeah, I
just
was
shows how relevant.
Puff
like
Baba.
yeah, and I think even with like, but with Tupac too, like he was very poetic.
Very poetic. Yeah.
In his younger days, I know he wrote I'm pretty sure he wrote a poetry book, and I think I read it when I was really young. He
Wow.
was very deep.
He was.
He was very deep. He was creative. His heart was very much open.
Very pure. When
Very
you
pure.
hear
Yeah.
what he says, like very similar
Yeah.
to this conversation. I'm like,
See, then I hear people like Nas, Biggie, certain people. I said, and people are like, he's the best. I said, no, I can't.
yeah,
Tupac,
Yeah.
a story plays in my mind.
yeah,
Doesn't matter what it is.
yeah.
He's got something that, and it's exactly that. You know what I mean?
Well, you look at it this way. I was talking about this because
Hang on, just quickly. I just said Nas and fucking Biggie, mate. They were with P Diddy the whole time.
Were they? They were.
They were.
Yeah.
So look at that. Boom, boom,
I
boom.
know. There's a lot. Like there's a
Oh,
rabbit
look,
hole.
and you
Yeah.
know what though? I love that it's sort of come to surface. Just not even personally for their thing. I couldn't care less. More so, be aware because I remember even Taylor Swift came out.
Oof.
Hold on,
Don't
break it
start.
They'll
down,
come for
brother.
you.
Oh,
Sorry.
let them come. Yalla, bring it.
I was like, no, but I was looking at how, because I was trying to understand it from that point. I was like, how has this person captivated mums and a 5-year-old? Like
Mums?
it was,
I know dads.
it was
Hashtag
like,
Tay-Tay.
Wow.
it was a
Wow.
lot for me to, and I was trying to honestly understand it. It's like, how has this happened? And then exactly that, like that whole conditioning and programming, and it's a culture. It makes you, it sort of invites you into becoming a culture, and then you're part of the team, and you dress the same, you want to look the same, you want to do the same, and I thought, isn't it interesting? Because the more I got sort of into this space, and I sort of started to like really tap into body intelligence, which is, man, I just don't want to be here, right? And you ignore that long enough, you'll be okay with being there, right? So I think, we have so far gone away from the intelligence of our body and the subtleness of the messaging and the innate intelligence, and we have just numbed it out that, we sort of don't even know what we like and what we don't like anymore, right? So I know for a fact I've never watched series and stuff, and I've never watched television much, and I didn't understand it back then. But for some reason, I just didn't do it. So everyone watching Neighbours and they did Friends and stuff, I never got into it, and I just never felt the pressure to like, okay, I want to do it. And now I understand, because I was just not aligned. There was no resonance there.
Yeah.
So I just couldn't. It was a natural, I don't want to watch, right?
You just knew.
You just knew. And I just remember too that all this, as a parent, right? My daughter was at at Joe too, so I'm very, very aware and conscious of these things, and I always explain to them that, mate, I don't care what's being out there, because there's so much that you think that that's 1%. The 99's happening without your awareness. The programming, the conditioning, all of a sudden you're liking these things that you don't know. No, that was working on you 10 years ago, right? This is how influence happens, because we're so frequency based, right? So just as a parent, I'm so aware that I make sure music, what they watch, content, where they are, everything is so, not like a monitor like that, no, but I'm aware. I don't even have it around in my space for them to have access. Right? It's our job now to take that. I don't need to save the world. I just need to know that I show up in that way in my house.
Yeah.
That's all I focus on. It's like, hey, just got to make sure that I and who they are meant to be is a greater influence than what's happening out there and what's trying to sort of come in, And sound is massive. They've showed sound can kill cancer.
It can.
Right? Sound can heal and sound can kill cancer. I mean, I shouldn't say kill, but, sound can change that sort of frequency into not existing. So imagine the power of sound. What do you think the pyramids are? It's all based on sound. I'm like, how have we underestimated how powerful this thing is?
They've been using it forever, just without us knowing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think definitely being conscious of what you listen to is like so important, and they're famous for a reason,
Exactly.
Agreed.
And I was in that realm too a little bit in another life.
You were a model.
You were a model. I was in that world. I've seen things. I've heard things. I felt things.
I think that's important though.
Yeah.
I think that is important, because you need to also know what it feels like on this side, at least with one foot, because I think otherwise you won't have a perspective, a true perspective.
Of course.
I think it's very important.
Yeah, it's not glamorous at all, like what they try and make you think. But especially in LA, I would say there is an element of you having to sell yourself. You do. You sell parts of your soul to exist in certain places with certain people. And I always would just hate being there. Like, just my whole body was like, get me out. I'm like that. Like, I'm like, I cannot be here.
Can you imagine at their level though, what they would have to sell?
Well, that's the thing. And people think it's all like, oh, nonsense or conspiracy. No. Like, now we have access to so much information. Like, there's information everywhere. So you can go research this for yourself and make like your own decision. And it's not to scare you. I think it's actually to liberate you to change.
Viewers, don't get scared. But when I realized that, the things we see on TV and hear, their intentions are wrong in a way, is when it's funny, I think God puts us on a path. And during this episode, I've reflected back. I had the suicidal thoughts, depression, all these things coming out of nowhere. I was born in Australia, but I never felt like Australia's my home. I always feel like back home is where I'm meant to be in Syria, northern Syria, that area. And I've always held that very close to my heart. And I'm the only one in my family, I think, that, my siblings, that is like that. So all the war that my family went through, everything to flee and get to where they are, I've always held it close. And I think, God put me on a path, and I'm glad I didn't check out back then, because you held on for a little bit longer, and look at the path we're on now. But what I was saying was, when I was searching for things, I was searching religiously first, okay? So going to different Bible studies and this and that. And I wasn't trying to claim anything for myself. I was just reaching for external still, okay? And nothing has actually brought me closer to God than the work we do today and the journey we're on now, the things we've spoken about. But what I'm trying to get to is, remember sitting at a certain Bible study, and this woman became possessed, okay? And I was like, what the fuck is this? But I know what I saw. I recorded it for 45 minutes, and I know it's real because people I tried to show couldn't even watch 5 seconds of it without, don't show me it, don't show me it. And their bodies were just not, right? So I'm like, okay. But I remember sitting there and being curious. That's what got me through. I've always been a curious person. I asked questions, but no one had answers for them. And watching this, hearing the voice, seeing the way this lady's body moved, and going, this is exactly like the fucking movies. But there's no director here. I was sitting with this lady for hours talking to her, and I seen the body do things that the body shouldn't do. So I knew what I saw was something real, and that existed. And on that drive home, I said, if that exists, the other side has to exist, right? So I basically fell onto a belief or something in a different way to most. But from that moment, I remember, and I've told my wife this as well, I said, no horror movies. People think they're going into a cinema and going, oh, this is scary.
Again,
No, because this is not scary. This is coming from exactly what I saw. And the only way you can replicate it to a fucking perfection, to a T, is if you are running off that type of energy there. If you're coming from that. There's no way, if you haven't seen it in your life or understand it, you can replicate it in that way. And that's one of my ways, one of my first awakenings. Before, obviously, I met Aisha, and she got me to start diving in deeper and working on myself, right? And then the forgiveness came, and letting go of things to create more space, etc. But yeah, one of my slaps in the face was that experience in my life. And that is the power of frequency and what you can see and everything like that, and sound,
100%. Tanya, what do you want to say to people that sort of live life and don't understand the power of frequency, vibration, sound? Like, what would you say to them if they're like just tapping in and they're curious now? What would you say to them?
I mean, like Dr. Joe says, I kind of have my own version, but he says, like, nothing changes unless you change. And, you have to change your energy to change your life. And what is energy? It's frequency and it's vibration. So you can use sound to change your energy, because I think a lot of people struggle with meditation or understanding, but sound is so powerful because it's like a tuning fork. Like, if you resonate with it, it actually, your body, like, let's just say a frequency is here. I don't like to say here and here, but let's just say a frequency is here and you're feeling here. You put on that frequency, but make sure it's like a proper frequency, a pure frequency, or like sound baths on YouTube. Like, there's so many things. Alchemy bowls are very powerful. They're encoded with minerals and gemstones, and that's why I love my alchemy sets and what I facilitate using them. But when that's playing, your body's energy begins to change and match that frequency. Your brain begins to change and matches that frequency. So it literally is like an instrument that you align with to change your energy, which is what can help you change your life. So it's really, really powerful. I'm really happy that it's becoming so everywhere now. Like, everyone knows now. But like, when I started, people were like, what is she doing? Like, what is this? What? Oh my God. Like, people were making fun of me, but I'm like, I just kept going because it was like something in me that's like, keep going, like of something guiding me.
Yes.
And I always trust that energy, like when things are going weird or wrong, and it's led me to here. So if anyone is curious, definitely even using the power of their own voice, like your words matter. You know, your words carry power. That's why people say like spelling, it's like a spell. So, you know, you've got to be really conscious of your speech to yourself, to others, the tone of your voice. Like they're studying the voice now and how like someone's frequency can change how you feel. So if someone's heart-centered, you feel it, and your brain actually starts to slow down because it feels safe. Your body feels safe, and they're like, oh, I'm going to listen to this. Whereas if someone's not in the heart,
feel that?
you feel it in their voice. So just like beginning to trust this, and also be really like curious in a joyful way. I think everyone gets too serious sometimes, and like let the path unfold for you. Like don't try to control it. Don't keep trying to control and seek experiences, because then you miss the present, which is literally where the magic will happen. So it's just learning to become, it's so simple. Like go back to the simple things.
I think so. Absolutely. And I think people are so wanting to, I want to like transcend. And I was like, no, man, let's just love what we have right now. Like, you know, look, you will transcend one day whether you like it or not. All right. Let's just love this thing, and let's tap into the intelligence. And, you know, I mentor Jesse, and Jesse knows how I roll. I utilize everything. So I get him, I've spoken to him about recording his own voice, making his own, you know, hypnosis, like a thing to go to sleep with. I use every tool, music, this, that. I'm like, God has provided everything. Utilize it, guys. And, you know, those are the things that actually your body and earth and your body, it's always in resonance and communication. I said, don't have to do it alone. You're not alone. You've got so many things around you. And they're really what's affecting your body. You're always in communication. Don't ever think you're not communicating. We think with our mind and we think, oh, as long as I know this. No, your nervous system's already communicating whether or not that outside that door there's safety, right? That's already doing its job. You don't need to do that. But providing you know that this is how our environment influences us on all levels, why wouldn't you consider what your environment's like? So choosing no as well as just going to those beautiful sound baths. And I want you to quickly give a thing about your loom. So just going to your sound baths and making a choice to go there when you sort of want to replenish and stuff, instead of going and do something that is just not going to give you proper energy and you might have a sugar drink or something. Do these things on a regular basis. Why are these one-off events? Why are these events? Why have they come across as events now? Why aren't these regular things that we do as quick as you can go to a nightclub every day? How the is this not a – why do we have to make an event though?
For sure.
Right? So I feel like it has to come back to that. It's like you should be able to go to these places like it's a natural thing. It shouldn't be a separate part of your life. And this is a whole thing about being human. It's like, why are these separate worlds? You know, and why are you only doing it outside? Are you doing this shit at home? Like, are your kids a part of this? You know, it's important.
For sure.
So I think to normalize this, use the intelligence, use the technology, because it's a technology. You're built to resonate with that technology. Use it, utilize it. You know, you're giving yourself the best opportunity to, you know, grow and all the benefits of, you know, regeneration, health, immunity, everything, clarity, everything. You get so much more downloads and, you know, inspiration. You walk around open-hearted and you do actually live like the world is a beautiful place, you know.
It is a beautiful
place. It is, exactly.
Really, there's a lot of beautiful things.
There is.
Always happening, but we're not shown, you know.
Yep.
So
on that note, can you just tell us what you are doing at the Loom?
Oh, yes. Well, I'm doing sound baths at the Loom, and it's incredible because it's they're like digital immersive landscapes. So you would, if you've seen, like it's a huge space. Like Wednesday, it was like over 240 people.
Wow.
I think it was just crazy, but it's incredible, and there's like different themes like rainforest and like the Himalayas and like space. So I'll be there for a while, every couple of weeks, and then I also have an online studio that I created specifically for exactly what you said, because I was like, people should have access to this
All the time.
at home, like sound and activations and frequencies. So that's I think that was meant to launch a couple of weeks
Yeah,
ago.
I
but
saw it.
live.
Still coming.
It's done,
Oh,
but you know, I'm just trusting that again. I'm
Yeah.
like, it's coming. So that'll be soon, and you can literally like just drop in and like choose a frequency and close
Mad.
your eyes and
We'll be
just
using it.
yes, I would love. For you
Well,
guys
I think I'm
to
going to
try
go to the
it.
Loom. I'm going to bring my girls.
Bring them, yeah. I think that's been
What days you do that?
well
First,
that
isn't it?
keeps selling out, which is I
Okay.
honestly like I don't like I really mean
My
this.
mother-in-law sent me that on Instagram.
Really?
And she doesn't know anything. She's a what's it called? Landscape photographer.
so sweet.
And she was
'Cause
like,
it was
look
the
at this thing, the
rainforest.
rainforest.
Yeah.
She's like, it's in Melbourne. She said ages
You
ago.
should
Yeah.
come.
Well, we're coming. I'm going to come.
Come.
Yeah,
I think
saw it. I'm like, I'm
the
gonna come.
22nd is available now,
Okay.
tickets. So
All right, I'll check that out. We'll
it's
go.
honestly, it's a beautiful experience, and
Yeah.
kids love it. The kids have been coming, and
Oh, awesome.
everyone gets what they need to. Like it's a very, I keep it really light. I don't.
Yeah.
I just get straight into the sound, and people have the experience they need. So that's been
Perfect.
incredible.
And we'll put all the details
put
on
all
our
the
show.
details, yeah.
Yes,
100%.
Come.
Easy.
Come, you should come.
Everyone.
Everyone.
That's it. That's like the
Cool.
Middle
Yeah.
Eastern in me. I'm
That's
like,
it.
come,
Come,
yeah.
everyone, come. We'll eat there. We'll do everything. Don't
I'm
worry.
like, we have tea.
That's it. All right. So we'll wrap
Thank
this
you,
one
Tanya.
up.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool.
Appreciate you so much.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me. This
Thanks,
is
Tanya,
lovely.
for coming.
Nice
Aisha's
chat.
always,
Thank you.
you've
I
always
love-
spoken
I
highly
love-
of her,
Yeah.
and it's
love
great to
Aisha.
meet you finally. So thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And
And I
guys,
love what you guys do.
She's just as attractive as Instagram.
no.
Yeah, I told you,
It's
man.
not a filter.
But it's not even I'll say
Nah.
beautiful. The word that
Do you know?
comes to my
You know
mind.
what it is?
Listen.
It's her inside reflecting on the
mate,
outside.
I
That's what it
started
is.
the show. Like, he's taking my line.
That's it.
Piss off.
Come on. All right. Let me save this before we lose it.
We're
guys.
B.Human. Bye.
Bye. Be human. Don't forget. Remember the name. Hashtag.
We're integrated. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. Please do subscribe and follow us on all our platforms.
And also, guys, please head to our website at www.thebhumanmovement.com.au, especially if you would like to get in contact with us, find out about our workshops, buy event tickets, also merch. A lot of you ask about our merch. You can grab our merch off there as well.
Absolutely. Stay updated.
And until next time, everyone, once again, thanks for your support, and don't forget to be human.